wonderful day. So let us start talking about women. I, I was asking somebody that what is the difference between men and women? So he said men leans more towards the sky and women is rooted in the earth. And I believe it speaks everything because if women is not deeply rooted in the earth, men cannot lean towards the sky. It is all together. We have to come, we have to see, and we have to see the role of the creator. I wanted to start my discourse with saying Radhe Krishna or Sita Ram. These are very famous and familiar everywhere in India. Those who are from outside the country on this platform today, they will appreciate this that in India, always it had been the women had been first. It was never Krishna Radhe, it was Radhe Krishna. It was not Ram Sita, it was Sita Ram. It speaks about our historical importance given to the women, and then we understood that she is Shakti, then Shiva comes. When we talk about Ardhangni, we say Ardhanareshwar also. There are so many things which need to be understood. But when we look at the SDGs of the day of modern world, SDG 5, which speaks about empowering women and promoting gender equality, it is also a fact of the day. Globally, if we look at, there are many challenges which we all need to address. And they can be addressed when we discuss, debate, deliberate, and do something good for all those wonderful women, those who need maybe some handholding, maybe some small recognition, maybe acknowledgement, maybe just some encouragement. I always believe that if all over the world women is allowed freedom to grow to her potential, there will be many, many women enlightened, many women poets, painters, philosophers, scientists, politicians, what we have. And to the male society, I will like to say that they will not only enhance their own word, word is one, a common word, they will enhance life for everybody, for the male, for the female, and the world will be more blessed. If women is given power, there will be more peace on the world. Today, it is very important we should talk about peace. More peace will be there. More marriage will be there. There will be no guns. There will be more fashion. There will be more empowerment. There will be more strength. That has to be seen. I can take an example of Rwanda. Before this pandemic, I had an opportunity to be in Kigali, a small country, Rwanda, in Africa. When I visited that country, I asked the people around. I had an opportunity to meet the president also and other people also. Few of the vice chancellors I met. I asked them why I can see the potential in this tiny country that this can be a Singapore of Africa in coming years. They said because we had a genocide in 1994. After that, we realized that if power is given to mothers, power is given to women, wives, daughters, friends, then the change will start coming. You will be happy to know, and many of you must be aware of that after that genocide, empowerment of women started there. More than 64% women are holding government positions in Rwanda. 64%. And the change started coming because empathy was there, love was there, care was there in every decision. War was not there. Peace was there. Pleasure was there. Blessings were there. And I believe this is what is required to empower the women. The most important thing, what we have to give to them, we have to give them a right to learn. And to learn what they wish to learn. It is not what I decide or you decide. We always believe that empowerment starts from education. Empowerment starts from that. That has to be there. And if I talk about SDGs, discrimination is everywhere. I agree and do not agree. Discrimination is there where a woman allows. Stop allowing anybody to do any discrimination. I know it is very easy to say, very tough to follow, but time has come when it has to be. We have to ensure that everybody recognize the contribution of women as she really is doing. I see in Shweta a woman coming from a small town of Uttar Pradesh, struggling for her own journey, starting her own journey, first generation entrepreneur, and doing something good, not only for her, for the society, for the women also. Because I'm sure that she also believes that if your success is limited to you, it is very selfish. If your success contributes in the progress of the society at large, then it is real success. And my good wishes to Shiriel, my compliments to everybody, those who have joined today and tomorrow. And I'm more than eager to learn from all of you. Again, my gratitudes, compliments, and thanks for empowering this world every day. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir, for your word of wisdom. You always never fail to inspire me, and I believe to each and every one of us who are listening you today. You have been always a great support, not you, but through your work, through your contribution to the society, not as a personality, but as an attitude and as a society as whole, you have taken always a way forward in leading not only women, but I would say complete as a society. You have been always so much inspiring. And thanks for joining us today, sir. So now we have our another guest of honor and our speaker for the day, Pieta Taswarin. Pieta is an international speaker, life coach, leadership coach. She is working with private clients specializing in transition and change while constantly growing and evolving herself. She is very dedicated to improving her public speaking skills and following her dreams of inspiring women from stages around the world with her flagship program called Courage to Change. Welcome, Pieta, to our program, Shiriel Shiboy.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so very much for the invitation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so happy seeing men in here. How many of you are you hungry for healthy leadership? You can leave a comment, you can raise a hand. And how many of you have ever felt trapped in a harmful leadership system? I believe in a world where power dynamics don't have to be dreadful and destructive. Instead, they can be peaceful and productive. And today, the need for more female leaders that will pioneer a healthy leadership style has never been more critical than now. You see, I was born behind the Iron Curtain in a small village in southern Poland, the youngest of four, wanting more out of life than what communism was offering. Even as a little child, I saw the gap and the hunger in people, hungry for healthy leaders that would bring vision, that would bring hope and directions for people to follow. I witnessed unhealthy leaderships firsthand, where a group of people obsessed with power and control decided that they knew better what is good for everyone. They dictated our lifestyle, they controlled our freedom and beliefs. There was a rule for everything, even how much food per month our family should live on. Lack of positive leadership role models took away humanity. People worked against each other rather than with each other. Fortunately, throughout this time, I had a healthy and beautiful power dynamic with my mother. My mom was a true leader. She always walked her talk. Despite the oppression that surrounded us, she taught me how to be resourceful and not to let the outside world define who I am on the inside. She used to say, kochanie. She used to say, baby, I want you to walk through life like a leader. Great leaders are needed because they influence positive change. And in the midst of that chaos, I want you to always remember who you are and what you stand for. Women are powerful agents of change, however, vastly underrepresented in leadership roles. Carly Simon once said, we need role models who are going to break the mold. Ladies, let's break the mold for the future generations. Now, since there is no lack of qualified women to fill leadership roles, why is there a gap? The first reason for this gap in female leadership is our outside circumstances, such as gender, age, being seen as too cute, not cute enough, too weak, not qualified enough, too soft, and so on. The fact is that most of the time, these external factors are out of our control. However, the good news is that the second reason and the larger reason for this gap is that it's you. Yes, I said it. It's you. It's you and what you believe to be true about your own possibilities. We women tend to be such a cheerleaders for everyone else, but when it comes to ourselves, we wait for some outside validation of our capabilities. For example, research says that women don't answer questions until we are totally sure what the answer is. We don't submit the report until we have edited it so many times. I'm guilty of that. We don't leave unhealthy jobs, relationships, friendships, waiting on some outside permission when the only permission we ever need comes from within. Ladies, when you are able to manage your inner world, the outside world can't stop you. Now that we know the reasons for the gap, how can we close it? There are three main factors that, when fully developed, increase women's chances for leadership positions. And all of them are in our control. Factor number one, write it down, confidence. I meet many talented women in my work that are stuck in some lower level positions because of, as they say, lack of confidence. Confidence is nothing more than believing in your ability to figure things out. Ladies, we are so good at finding a million reasons why we cannot be or do things. Instead of saying, who will stop me? There is this old Polish saying, when you cannot get through the door, find the window. If there is no window, build it. Leaders do not look for excuses. Leaders look for resources. And if they cannot find any, they create them. A very familiar lesson from my mother, actually. Confidence is not given, ladies. It's a skill. You can learn it. Confidence is about expanding your comfort zone and has a lot to do with self-image and what you believe to be true about yourself and the world around you. Our own BS. Whoops, I said it. BS stands for belief system, by the way, is the biggest doorstop for us. Practice your confidence by taking actions. Factor number 2 is a growth mindset. Growth mindset. Did you know that 52% of men see themselves as having opportunities to advance to leadership position in their jobs? And only 38% of women feel the same way. Ladies, we can do better. Leadership is about growth. So let's grow for yourself, for your relationships, for your productivity and your people. To lead well means to educate yourself and then share your knowledge. Knowledge brings you the opportunity to make a difference. And in our personal and professional roles, the growth we need comes from seeking knowledge that will turn down the walls and build bridges to a better tomorrow. Factor number 3, write it down. Collaboration over competition. Ladies, if we ever hope to close the gap and achieve gender parity, we need to collaborate. Collaboration not only between females, but between genders. Female leaders is no better than, but different from men, and we need to work together. Our differences are needed to embrace creativity. And I'm so happy seeing men supporting us here today. Audrey Hepburn said it perfectly. The best thing to hold on to in life is each other. The best thing to hold on to in business is each other as well. If we want better future for our daughters, we need to develop more leaders that will collaborate instead of compete. So the question I now ask you is, why do we give so much power to the idea that women are less capable leaders, that women, powerful leaders cannot be peaceful and healthy? Why do we still follow the old dynamics that power needs to be forced, that power needs to be fear-driven, that the powerful leaders are unapproachable and that they are born male? It's not true. What can we do to reverse that stigma? Ladies, let me leave you with this. Do not being a woman hold you back from the leader that you are destined to be. My name is Beata Severin-Reed. I'm happy and honored to be here. Thank you very much. And if you are one of these hungry people for leadership, please contact me. I would be happy to hear your story.
Thank you so much, Pieta, for your inspiring speech today. We were actually, I would say there is no word to say how beautifully you explain womanhood and how beautifully you put in 4 or 5 points that how women should look toward themselves and how society should look toward themselves. Thank you so much and wish you a very happy International Women's Day.
Thank you. Stay together. We are strong together.
Yes. So guys, now we have next speaker lined up is Sandy B. Simon. She is the international author, speaker, naturopathic nutritionist, fertility and lactation specialist. Sandy upholds the version of each human being to know who they truly are, while she gathered the conscious collectively to initiate the journey into a sustainable world to create simple ways better forward. Over to you, Sandy, because people are waiting to hear you. You are muted.
Sorry, yes, I got it. So thank you very, very much. I thank Weef and She Real, She Boy, and of course yourself, Sveta, for inviting me along to speak today. You've asked me to speak, and I've chosen to speak on the reality of success and how we move through our lives to progress to our well-being. So it comes and goes, as we all know. So first of all, I'd just like to backtrack. You know, we're all born, we all are children. Children ask questions. Now, why do they ask questions? They're asking questions. They want to orientate themselves in the world. They want to know how they fit in, how they can, you know, how to be, and, you know, how to survive in the family and in the environment around them. They also express their imagination and, you know, we could call it visions as we get older, but our imagination. And how many times do we know that it gets squashed? We put it to bed. There's nothing else for us to do. We have to abide and we have to learn how to be in the world to survive. So how do we open that up? Now, I just want to talk a little bit about success, and the reality of success is different for everyone, as you all know. You know, my success and how I perceive it is not yours or anyone else's. So it's a very individual, I'm going to say ideal, but it's also something that we live by from our heart. So we've put our visions to bed, going back to being children. We get prodded, we get poked, and we are pushed to the limit. And sometimes we still don't see it and we don't see our worth. This happens to us through our life. It starts when we're young. So one of my things that I do is to help new parents to see, as their children grow, to please listen to them. They're your biggest teachers. So moving on from there, if we don't express our heart's expression, if we're not allowed to speak our heart's expression, how can we move into a world where it's going to be any different? It's going to be small and just pushed and guided along by those in authority. What happens if we don't express our heart? When you wake up and you go, I have to do this. If I don't do this, I'm just going to die. It's at that breaking point, at that moment when you go, I have to do something. I have to take action. So now we're at the stage where there's action to take. There's no choice. So this happens to men and women, but I'm tailoring this to women because as we grow, the same things happens to us as we're children. Women are often discounted and they go, yes, that's your lovely idea. Back you go home, you know, to look after your children or whatever is going on in your culture. It's very different in different cultures, as we know, but the theme runs like a red line around the world. So I just want to go through what happened to me in my life very, very briefly so that you understand how I've come to my success. So I was born in London, came to Australia at 12 and a half. I've married, had 2 children, now have 3 beautiful grandchildren, and I wouldn't change any of it for the world. There's been lessons in it galore. But in that time, I lost my art of questioning. Now, as children, we, as I said before, we question and we go, that doesn't sound right. What am I going to do about that? How do I have to be? But as we get older, we're in more control about what we can change and what we can do. Further on, I had my children, And I got to that magic age of 33 when I woke up one day and thought, what am I doing? I have 2 children and a husband and a nice home. This isn't what I'm meant to be doing. This is not it. There's something bigger. And so I pondered on it and I meditated on it. And what I got was the fact that I'm here to bring souls into life and out of life safely. To me at that time, I thought, what? What on earth does that mean? So as time went on and small children, I put that to bed, as quite often we all do. Then it prodded me and poked me for time upon time. And then I thought, okay, let's go and study. So I studied naturopathy, nutrition, fertility, lactation, all the things that I'd gone through. I was really formalising what I already knew. But it was just something that I felt I needed to do as my next steps. I went on to study with doctors and alternative practitioners and in hospitals and different environments to gain knowledge and really to relive what I already knew. But this is in hindsight. As I got stronger and I moved on, my marriage fell apart, which happens to many women. But out of that comes a strength sometimes. You have to come up, you have to bring yourself up, you have to get out there, you have to do things, you have to connect. And, sometimes it's the best thing that can happen, even though at the time it's quite traumatic. For me, it was so traumatic, I ended up in a near-death experience. I was 44 by that stage. And what happened was I was really unwell for months afterwards, but it moved me. It moved me nearer to my reality of my success, of my calling, I call it. So what happened was I ended up moving to my own home. I opened a clinic. I had 15 practitioners, very successful. And after 5 years, it started disintegrating. I remember standing on the threshold of my home and saying, if all this was to go away, I would still be me. I was really meaning the material things. Be careful what you ask for and what you say, because over the next year, I sold my house. My mum had cancer. My dad passed away. My partner at the time found someone else, and my car blew up on the freeway. I was left with really no material possessions, so to speak. And I decided, what am I going to do next? So I went back to my roots. After 30 years, I went back to the UK, but I also, in that time frame, went to different spiritual places around the world using the UK as a base. It was just a calling that I had. And after those 6 months, I guess it was time out, I went back to Australia and I continued my work and realised that I had been already living my success, but hadn't really taken on board the fact that what I was living and what I possessed were 2 different things. So fast forwarding a little bit, I would like to just say to any woman, you will get more resilience and more strength from moving on and taking action. If you feel you're stuck somewhere, reach out to other women. They'll help you, they'll support you, they'll guide you. We are all here for each other. So listening to my heart, my life experiences make me who I am today. They will make you who you are today. They're not always pleasant. There will be many tales out there that can tell you it's not pleasant sometimes, but in those low times of our life, they can be really low. They give us the perspective of what it's like to have the highs, to have the heart opened. There's a strength that's reborn, a resilience that grows like a tree. It has its roots in the ground. It weathers the storms, but it enjoys the calm that surrounds it as well. It just loves its environment, whatever it brings. It's ready and waiting. The last couple of years have been really, really difficult for most people in one form or another. It may not be personally, it might be what's gone on around you, or, many of us have been separated from loved ones, etc. But it's given us time to think, or that's what I believe, it's given us time out to go, what does our success really mean? Where are we headed? What is actually going on in the world? What can we do about it? Now, some of us, well, everybody, I think, got that wake-up call. I don't think there's anybody on earth that knew what was going on that didn't sort of go, what's going on, and got shaken around and rattled. But some have put it back to bed as we get back to what we call some normality and back to their daily duties and have forgotten. But there's many others who are standing up now and saying, right, where are we headed? What's it going to be like for our next generation and the generations beyond? I have 3 grandchildren. What sort of a life do I want to leave them? For me, it's all about health. I'm about health. If you don't have your health, there's not much you can do. So, I'm collecting conscious hearts around the world. Conscious hearts, bringing them together, helping each other to be healthy, have fabulous well-being. And well-being, I mean, there's five factors that we need for our well-being. We need to connect. How many of us haven't connected? How many of us haven't hugged loved ones? We've really got the message. We need to connect. We need to give unconditionally, not conditionally, unconditionally. We need to learn something every day, whether it's just, it could be just anything, very simple, but it's learning about you and something that you've learned about yourself. Taking notice of the signposts. Now, women are very good at this. Women tend to notice everything, sometimes more than is good for us, but we notice everything. And it's noticing the signposts. I'm talking here about your health, your mental health, your physical health. Take notice, take action and do something. Reach out to somebody. Because if we're not living our heart's message, if we're not living in our heart's expression and we're not doing our work, we will get ill. Noticing those little signposts along the way may stop you from having the huge dips in life that are sometimes hard. Listen to yourself. Be active. There's nothing to do but action to take. I say that to nearly all my clients. Take action. Sometimes it seems ridiculous. It seems like, I can't do that. Or someone close to you says, you can't do that. But your heart's saying something else. Sometimes it seems totally off the wall, something that, it's not going to take me anywhere, but it leads you to often the next stage of your life, which is a blessing. Hearts need to be shattered. I hate to say this to you, but hearts, when they are broken, give you the strength that you need to move on. If we protect our heart so much that we don't allow anything or anybody in, or our heart to open and express itself, we will become ill. It'll be the best thing you've ever done. Believe me. There's this little saying, a healthy human I'm reading this one, a healthy human has 1,000 wishes, a sick human has just one. Fall in love with taking care of your mind and body. Health is the foundation of everything. If you haven't got your health, you can't get on with what you love. And as you get older, you'll understand more and more that it's not about what you look like or what you own. It's about the person you've become. And we can only do that through going through life's experiences when they're presented to us. I'd just like to leave you with the thought that you can do anything. The reality of your success is yours. It's nobody else's. Moving on to your health and getting the best that you can out of your well-being is up to you. Notice the signposts. Be kind, connect, give as if you have no tomorrow, and you will have a life that is very different from one you ever imagined. I want to thank my children. They have been my biggest teachers. My firstborn, my daughter, opened my heart. She gave me this heart. My son gave me this pearl when he came back from America. My daughter opened my heart. My son reminded me of my pearls of wisdom. Listen to the children. Listen to them. Don't denounce what they're about, because they are the ones that are telling us what the future is going to be. But we need to take the action to help them, to bring it forward. So my lesson for today, if there's a lesson or something I'd just like to leave you with, is to live your success every day. It could be little. It could be just in bringing somebody up in the world by saying something good to them. It could just be giving somebody, a little posy of roses out of your garden or flowers. It could be smiling at someone. And how often can we do that with a mask on, dare I say? But smiling at people, you can smile at them with your eyes. It uplifts everybody. We need to uplift each other. Live your success every day, and please live from your heart. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandy. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking time from your busy schedule to be the guest speaker today in She Real, She Boy. Your presence and wise word actually has helped magnify our cause for today in the best possible way. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
So we have next guest and speaker, Carol Hanlon. She is CEO and founder at TCF Australia and Betmont. She has been acknowledged for her small business achievements with local, state, and national awards since 1970s. As owner and designer of her own fashion manufacturing, wholesale, retail, and export business for 20 years. What a wonderful personality we have. And Carol, we cannot wait to hear you. You are muted, Carol.
Okay, welcome everybody, and thank you for Sharita for facilitating and leading this opportunity, and also welcome to all the males on board today, because you're the male champions of change, and you're the ones who can call out unacceptable behaviour to help make this change possible. Sharita, can you show my screen, because it says I'm disabled at this end?
Please share the screen.
It says,
share the presentation.
It says it's disabled.
Yes, the team is sharing the presentation.
Oh, okay. All right. So if they can start off on the first slide, because I will be using slides today celebrating the economic empowerment of women and the Sustainable Development Goals. Can they show the first slide, please? Thank you. Now, the first slide, every member state of the United Nations has already agreed to these 17 goals. No poverty is one. Gender equality, which I'm passionate about, is number 5. Number 10 is reduced inequalities, because this is getting a major problem throughout the world. And these 17 goals, your wherever you are in the world, your country has already agreed to these. So think about, okay, so we're talking about the next slide, please. Okay, so these slides, if you don't have them, you can get them online, or you can contact me after this session and request a copy of these goals. Because if you're in business, you're in a community, you're in an organization, you're an individual, you can focus on the goal that is passionate about what you want to achieve in your country and your community. Next slide, please. Just a little bit of info. Next slide, please. Little bit of info, just so you know, I already had a business for 20 years. I was a fashion designer, clothing manufacturer. Next slide. Then I started not-for-profit organizations. Next slide. So these small business training and mentoring program organizations I've ran for 28 years. 17,000 women have I assisted through the Business Enterprise Centre and other projects, and many of them, if you're not getting our newsletters, you can contact us and be included. Then our next slide, please, is the second not-for-profit organisation I'm the founder of, is the Textile, Clothing and Footwear Resource Centre, where I help designers and creative businesses around the world. So collectively, I've helped over 34,000 small businesses in the past 28 years. Next slide, please. Okay, all right. So I'm also the state president of Business Professional Women, which is an international organization on advisory status to the United Nations. There are BPW clubs in India. Once again, if you want to know where they are, you can contact me. Now, getting back to the actual issues of women in the world today, the first wave of social change came in the 1900s when the suffragettes and women around the world rallied to get the vote. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. The second wave came in the 60s and 70s, when women agitated for the points that are there: reproductive rights, equal pay, maternity leave, etc. Now, next slide, please. Now we're in the third wave. Women around the world are unleashed. And activism means taking action, whether it's in your community, whether it's in your organization or your workplace or wherever you are in the world. Women need to rise up and say, enough is enough. Next slide. What's happening is with activism, next slide. Next slide, please.
Yeah.
Is that your voice needs to join together to actually make a difference to yourself, to your friends, to your everyone that you're connected with, because it can't be a lone voice. It has to be reaching out to those. Next slide. The topic that I wanted to talk about is the sustainable development goals. And one thing that everyone can participate is in creating a more sustainable circular economy by reusing all we use. Next slide. Next slide, please. The way you can participate in your own home, in your own decision-making and purchases, is understand that the SDGs cut across everything. And I'm talking about the textile fashion industry here, and everybody has got a garment or wearing apparel right now this second. Water usage in textiles, insecticides in cotton production, chemical use in textiles, apparel labeling, ethical fashion and accreditation, fast versus slow fashion, apparel disposal, and circular supply chains. These are all the ways that you personally can participate by the next decision you make when you purchase an item of clothing, to look at slow fashion compared to fast fashion. Next slide, please. Okay, so circular supply chains. think about the very basics after the Second World War, when everything was recycled during that, of make, do and mend, recycling paper. I know India does this very well to this day in using every scrap, but the rest of the world is now getting on board with this, what's needed. So think about in your business how you can make a difference. Next slide, please. I wanted to share that even the UN has realized that the economic empowerment of women is the one way to alleviate poverty, because women's profits go back into the health and well-being of their family. So women in business need to plan. And that is one of the issues that I find in helping business, because women start from the grassroots up and they often start with no plan. But you can go back and plan of the who, what, when, why, where. Next slide, please. The main points of why women are poor is they're not only running their own business, they're doing the home management, the family responsibilities. If their partner has a business, they're helping that as well. Obviously, COVID-19, now we have a bigger problem with global supply chain disruption, and logistics is a nightmare. The prices are going up, so we have lots of problems. One of the things with women in business is lack the time to learn the skills that they need, and everyone in business does not know what you don't know. So you have to actually be proactive. But throughout the world, I have identified that women lack confidence in their own abilities because they often start from the bottom up and they lack the resources. Find mentors, find accredited business mentors. Women can become very isolated, and they need supportive, like-minded business networks. And they also have a lack of market access. So once again, many of these opportunities are in my monthly newsletters, and anyone based in a developing country can access a program called She Trades, run by the ITC. Next slide, please. But here's a few tips. A one-page business plan. Develop your business goals and objectives. Get your vision. What's the income you've got now? What do you want in the future? What's the hours you have worked now? What do you want to work in the future? And what lifestyle do you have now? And what do you want in the future? If you do not create a vision and a plan, you can create a business that can turn into a monster, right? So you need to put these things in place. Next slide, please. Working on and in your business is one of the problems of all women suffer, because time is the essence. They are time poor, but working on your business is the strategic way to get your margins and to build a successful business with a good foundation. Next slide. But what happens with women, next slide, is that they're working in the business. And where those two things cross, working in or on, is the emotional attachment of you being the owner in the business. Next slide. I wanted to outline that the Women's Empowerment Principles, also a goal belonging to also the Global Compact of the United Nations, is 5 or 7 things that you can implement in your business, or you can take it to your employer, that they can join the Global Compact. My passion is number 5, and the enterprise development. Next slide. Now, everybody that's on this session can have an invitation to a free event I'm running as part of the United Nations CSW 66. CSW stands for Commission for the Status of Women. 66 means it's the 66th time it's been ran since the League of Nations ended and the UN started. This session will last for 2 hours, and the link, the Zoom link, or free NGO CSW is a not-for-profit organization, and the Zoom link is there, or you can get the slides that I'm showing you now off my webpage that's on the slide. And the next slide, please, is I have 13 speakers And the international president of BPW is speaking on the situation in Ukraine and how people can assist with initiatives. I also have Days for Girls, a great organization that's now delivered its 3 millionth kit, Days for Girls kit around the world that provides sustainable menstrual care and health education to girls and women. I have De Facto in Turkey, one of the major global chains of fashion chains, about explaining their projects. They've got 500 stores around the world. BPW Lebanon, and how we assisted them with sending a container of sewing items to help the women post the Beirut blast. I also have projects helping with cybersecurity, and our speaker on that, and any of you, your attendees today, can join our online forum on cybersecurity, because this is getting worse around the world, and you need to realize that you're only as strong as the weakest link in your supply chain. I have Iran and their not-for-profit organization helping women and girls. We have BPW in Sudan talking about empowering women in conflict areas. I have Elena speaking on mental and physical well-being and adapting to change. We have BPW International Paz from Spain talking about economic inclusion in trade and SDGs. We have Uganda creating sustainable cities and communities. The Rhythm Center from Australia, but she supports a foundation in Kolkata that helps empower girls and women who are coming out of being trafficked and with trauma. I have the past president of BPW talking about your leadership potential, and I'll also be outlining more tips and opportunities for those that attend on improving or growing your business. So thank you very much for providing this opportunity. I know this is a lot of information, but I've got a lot to share. There's a lot going on, and thank you very much. My details are on the last slide. You can email me if you would like a copy of that presentation or any of the parts that I talked about. And once again, thank you, Sheda, for providing this opportunity. And thank you to all the male champions of change who have joined this forum. And together we can make a difference in the world today. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Carol, for this wonderful speech. It was great pleasure to listen your wise word and learn so much from it. And I take this opportunity to thank you on behalf of Team Shiriel. And you won't believe, to all the viewers, all the audience and speaker, this complete show is managed by the male force of Shiriel. So thank you so much, Carol, for joining us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you, one and all.
So now we have our next speaker, Romi Giri. She is a sport activist, first female Olympic speaker of Nepal. She is also the former UN Young Leader. Over to you, Romi, for the wonderful speech.
Thank you. Thank you for the floor. First of all, good morning to all the courageous ladies and gentlemen assembled here. And special regards to the organizers and the management team of Serial. This is Romi Giri from Nepal, sports person, sports activist, recognized as a first female Olympic speaker and former United Nations Young Leader. And I used to work with the UN advocating the social issues under those 17 goals since 2014 to 2016. And I'm here today to speak about women for change, and in this beautiful day of March 8, International Women's Day, I would like to wish you all at first a happy Women's Day, respected and dearest all. Let me start this speech by thanking you all for honoring me with this valuable opportunities in this beautiful day. Somebody has correctly said that women is like a tea bag, You can tell how strong, you cannot tell how strong she is until you put her in a hot water. And I believe we should include ourselves in every opportunity so that we can give our best for the community, society, and country. If we look at the history, women's will notice that women's have a set beautiful examples in different fields. But if we observe at present conditions, we will discover that women have several limitations. Women empowerment is a process of retrieving their true rights and give them the proper place to enhance the positive changes, such as recognition in society, country, organizations, and other workplace wherever they stand. And change is important important to initiate from ourselves, and the more society is letting us seeing as a weak factors of the society, it is not true. We are not weak and we are not half of the society. We have a power of generating the society, actually. That's what I believe. And this is unfortunate that women get little and no appreciations despite being talented in male-dominated societies. Women are treated like many of the players are many of the time non-existent. In many countries at rural areas, they are still not allowed to pursue a higher education and professional life. Women can't contribute to decision making, even in their family. So, as human beings, we also hold, as a woman, a similar weight as a man. So, it is a wake up call for us to empower women and empower ourselves for the positive changes, changing on ourselves, our attitude, and our being self. No one should not be maltreated anymore. Especially women have to speak for it, for ourselves and for herself. Women empowerment is like a ray of hope for women to bring them to the place to which they are entitled, and it will strengthen willpower, definitely. In our country, especially Nepal, women empowerment is an issue for conversations only, limited to conversations. That's it. In other countries, women and girls are self-dependent and they can make their own decisions and also take their responsibility proudly. And this is a region, I believe, those countries to fall into the bucket of developed countries for sure. Women can contribute this country as they are the ones who understand the meaning of responsibility, from household to organizations to handling the nations. As a woman, we can perform well in almost every aspect of life, and that should be our confidence. Our country is amongst those which are less secure for female, and there is, I believe, a need for a women's empowerment so that all the women can take a stance for their rights, for betterments, for social positive changes, psychological, environmental, and positive changes that as a women we can bring when we are empowered by ourselves. And if we don't take care of ourselves, I believe no one will take care. So I think there are ladies, beautiful ladies, it is really important to take care of ourselves and be. There are a lot of methods to empower for changes as a women. We should take a part in encouraging women's and girls in our society at first. We can allow them for almost every field that we are prevented, as she is prevented from. Women education should be the method or that made a necessary changes, positive changes, and women can become literate enough to live a life at fullest at the beginning. And most importantly, everyone can be literate, but being educated women in practice is, I think we really need to be educated, which is above literacy. And for like developing countries, child marriage must be prevented, and a huge punishment should be inflicted if someone is found involved in it. Like there is a dowry system in my country, rural areas, and I'm still working for it. So I believe women's in chains is only possible changing in ourselves so that we can empower the government and decision-making bodies to spread the awareness about this among the people and encourage them to behave well with their like as a male to the women child, daughters. Girls and women must get provided with a free training on how to defend themselves and face problems boldly. And in this case, I am myself involved as a like activist. They call me activist with these things, and I'm like through the sports, using sports as a tool. Being a sports person, I'm empowering women with the various sorts of educations in the society at the grassroots level. And I think we really have to wake up now by ourselves, most importantly, and we should make a space by ourselves. For instance, as these days, currently, UN Secretary General has singled out the women's leadership for their unique abilities as the drivers of solutions when they are empowered. Yeah, it is in the practice of international arena as well to advocate and the importance of women in our leadership and decision making participation. So UN is one of the organization who is playing active role for the overall growth of the women. UN has analyzes UN analysis has shown the men and women have a different coping mechanism and vulnerabilities in the face of change. And I believe this is a beautiful example to for all of us that we definitely had to be proud for equality, and we are different, not as a supporter, as a together in between men and women. There should be, I believe, there should no competition. Just there should be respect, and women's many of the time feel maltreated and discouraged in decision making positions. So that should not be. And UN focuses on women around the world as agents of the change, teaching them how to integrate smart solutions in the work they do. And this community-driven approaches not only benefits the environment but also empower the women to help improve the quality of life for their families, communities, workplace, while advancing the sustainable development. So I'm almost, in the final words, I want to say that women's empowerment is a way for the women to change from the grassroots level to decision making level. So it is really importantly required demand for a better futures of the country and portray the best pictures of themselves and the place they belong to. We don't have to do much, but bringing back their proper places is important. Having a lot of initiations and initiatives throughout the globe, or also in our country where we belong, is still lacking behind in women empowerment. Means ourselves is lacked. We ourselves are lacking many of the times, and that we should not continue. We all can make it possible by taking a part in encouraging and supporting our girls and women wherever we are. Definitely, there's a lot to say, but time is limited resources, definitely, and with the we should respect it. At last, I want to thank you all for listening and for having me this valuable opportunities. And thank you so much again. And cheers to the womanhood, and let's share the sisterhood together. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rami, for sharing this. It was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. The concept, the problems which you talked, because this is something many of the countries are facing with women. Women of the countries are facing. And I'm very happy to see few of our speakers still watching this and encouraging and inspiring us. Despite of huge time difference, I know Pieta was about to sleep, but still she's here and supporting the other speakers. So it's actually very, very, very nice to see that many of us are being inspired by you all. Thank you so much. Now our next speaker, who has pre-recorded her session and given to us because of the huge time difference, is Dale Darley. She is co-founder of the Healing Book Project. You can also find Dale Darley on her website, daledarley.com. So I would request my team to play her pre-recorded session.
Hi, I think voice is not there.
Yes, we are just working on it due to some technical glitch. I'll just sort it out in another 1 to 2 minutes.
Sure.